topic is life as its own reward. In our busyness, we often neglect the opportunity to just be present to life and the gifts and deliciousness that it offers, just as life itself. So that's what we're going to talk about today. But before we get started, let's take a minute or two to get present. Let's take a deep breath in through your nose and hold it. And imagine clean, crisp oxygen flooding your lungs, flowing into your bloodstream, nourishing all your cells, all your organs, bringing vital life energy to your body and being. And as you exhale, exhale any tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's take another deep breath in through your nose and hold it. This time, imagine brilliant, bright light lighting you up from the inside out, illuminating, electrifying, and energizing all your cells, your molecules, your electrons, creating a brilliant beam of light and energy from your heart out into the world. And as you exhale, exhale any remaining tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's press our palms together, vigorously rub your hands together to feel the friction, the temperature, the pressure, the motion, the tickling and tingling when you stop, and allow all those sensations to bring you present right here, right now, into this remarkable physical form that enables us to experience life. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Good morning, Rosalind. So good to have you here with us this morning. And welcome to everyone else who's joining us. Today, we're talking about life as its own reward. So I've spoken about Joe Dispenza, who is, if you're not familiar, a guy who is really transforming our perception of the value of meditation and the capacity that we have as conscious beings to radically alter our experience physically, emotionally, mentally, etc. And I was doing a Dr. Joe meditation this morning, and I heard it even more impactfully than I have, or certain parts of it anyway, in the past. And one of the focuses of the meditation was to breathe in life, to take a deep breath in and breathe in life, breathe in vitality. And that's why we're talking about what we're talking about this morning, because so often we're engaged in all our busyness about the things we need to do, all the demands, all the upsets, all the challenges, and we don't actually presence ourselves to the magnificence and the energy of life itself, and relish that, cherish that, embody that. And it's very easy to get caught up in life's drama and demands, and taking a step back to presence ourselves to the miracle of life gives us a whole new perspective, whole new appreciation for this experience that we're having. And I wonder, so many of us experience a crisis of meaning. I certainly did for most of my life, just wondering why I was here, what this was about. I was very immersed in suffering. I know lots of us have been there. And I wonder if perhaps the purpose of being here is simply the experience itself. Just trying it on as an idea. Certainly, the experience is a rich one, right? We experience all kinds of sensations, physical, emotional. We experience witness and engage with all kinds of different events. This wonderful, wonderful drama that plays out, the stories that we play out as we're going through life. And what if we are just all participating in this wonderful, never-ending story, that is an unfolding. And I wonder if it needs to have any more meaning than that. Although within our individual lives, we choose different paths, certainly. And we engage with the drama in very, very different ways. And it's interesting to see kind of different stratas, maybe, of consciousness or of awareness or of immersion in the stories. I think, well, certainly the times in my life when I was suffering most, I was deeply immersed in the stories as reality and believing all the stories, believing that that's what the truth of it was, believing that I was at the effect of the stories and the circumstances. And when we experience ourselves at the effect of other people's whims and other people's actions, when that's the limit of our experience, then it propagates an experience of victimhood, right? And I can say that that's a place that I lived for a long time in my life too, is in a space of victimhood. And it's not I always have to feel that I have to clarify that it's not that we can't be victimized. We can be victimized, and we then get to choose whether to be a victim or not. And, people do terrible things to people. That can happen. And it doesn't mean that something terrible didn't happen. And we get to choose how we engage with those situations, at least at some point, at some evolution of consciousness. We get to be victims or to gather ourselves up to emerge beyond that. Two separate things. So I'm not saying that bad things don't happen. I am saying that ultimately we do have the power to exercise our will to deal with those situations in a way that we take back our power. Anyway, this notion of being able to be in our experience and witness our experience at the same time. We've talked about the power of the witness. It's the witness who gets to see the story. There's a part of us that is living the story out and immersed in it. And then there's the part that is the witness, that has the ability to stand back and actually exercise choice and actually recognize opportunity, recognize dynamics. And perhaps it is that witness self that has the opportunity to stand back that is also the part that has the opportunity to just really relish life for the fact that it's life, to relish the scent of flowers on a deep and soft breath in, to cherish and enjoy the colors of nature and the changing of the seasons. And I think that if we can make a practice of presencing ourselves to this deliciousness, life as its own reward, breathing in life, then that presence will shift our way of being with pretty much everything, to be having a sense of appreciation and gratitude and awe, perhaps wonder. Awe and wonder, two of my favorite emotions or responses to the world, experiences of the world. When we can cultivate that, we can cultivate that in any circumstance. See, that's the thing, is when we unbind ourselves from the demands of the circumstance, which can pull us down the vortex of a rabbit hole, where we can just go into this vortex of emotion and reactivity, when we can just pause and breathe in life, it takes us to a different place. It takes us back to presencing ourselves to ourselves. It takes us back to a center place where so many things in life throw us for a loop, right? We're just reeling. We use these expressions, throw us for a loop. We're reeling in reaction, right? When we can come back to ourselves, we can experience and cherish life as its own reward. And when we can allow ourselves to cherish life as its own reward, it also has the result of bringing us back to ourselves. So I think we can tend to make things very complicated. When we choose how we be, when we can recognize that we have a choice about our being, that we are ultimately responsible, response-able regarding our own experience, our own feelings, then we can, as we experience that power and ability, we can also grant that power to others and to give them the respect of them being responsible for their own well-being and their own feelings. And again, at least two sides of things. It's not that our behaviors don't impact others and that we bear responsibility for our behavior, and other people also have the responsibility or the ability to respond differently. And so I recognize that I can't blame people. I can't blame other people for how I'm feeling. I could be feeling the way I'm feeling in response to something that they did, and ultimately I'm accountable for those feelings. And in the old world of drama that I used to reside in, I was at the effect, and I'm saying this like maybe it's all of us, I was at the effect of other people's behavior. You made me feel that way. You know, you did this or that to me. And now I'm finding myself much more free in taking responsibility because it gives me back my power. It gives me back sovereignty. It gives me back an opportunity for choice. And I'm using me as a universal here. It gives us back an opportunity to actually be the creator of our own experience. It actually gives us sovereignty in our lives where it gives us the opportunity to choose. And I'm not saying that it's necessarily easy to choose either, because we get tied up into these loops of pattern behavior and pattern response. You know, so growing up, we're in environments where we learn to respond in certain ways for self-preservation, or to get praise or whatever it is. We learn these different patterns, and to break out of those patterns to come to a new place of choice is a courageous and challenging thing to do. To even realize that we have that option to come out of these pattern states. But one of the ways, I think a powerful question that we could pose to ourselves is, if I had choice, what might I choose? Because we might feel like we don't have choice. That's why I'm saying, if I had choice, what might I choose? And what would it take? Because there may be a wounding that is coming to our awareness that we then have the opportunity to address. You know, when we're locked into these patterns, fighting them doesn't really work so great. You know, we can exercise our will, but it takes so much energy to do that, right? Whereas we can use them as a jumping off point to complete those patterns, to dissolve them, to resolve them. Thank you. Rosalind says, from surviving to thriving. Exactly. I can tell you from personal experience, locked into that drama, it was survival. And I didn't feel like I was doing such a good job. I felt like I just had my nose above water sometimes before I bobbed under. You know, I really experienced feeling like I was drowning for so much of my life. Like I was just holding on, just barely holding on. And I don't think I'm alone in that. And the thing that makes the difference is taking back our power to say, just because that happened doesn't mean I have to feel that way. You know, just because somebody else is doing something or acting in a certain way doesn't mean I have to feel a certain way. We get to choose. And one of the best ways to be able to get to that point of choice is to find ourselves back in our center. And how can we do that? Well, one of the ways that we can do that is by presencing ourselves to life itself, to drinking in life, to just stopping, slowing down, and choosing to breathe in, for example, breathe in life, to presence ourselves, to feel life itself, and to experience the reward of that. And nature for me is just the best doorway into that experience, to presence ourselves to life itself. And that's presencing ourselves to ourselves. It helps to bring us back to our center. Even in times of great despair, coming back into a state of presence, to even feel the sweetness of that sorrow. And that may sound like a paradox, but to be able to feel something so deeply, so completely, so physically, to actually allow that feeling and to recognize it as part of an experience of life, part of a richness that can be indescribable. It can be excruciating. I imagine most of us have experienced the deep, deep sorrow that brings forth a wailing of just exquisite pain. And even that experience, the profundity of it, the pervasiveness of it, the completeness of it, whole body, whole soul experience of that kind of pain, emotional pain I'm talking about. There's something very much alive about that. And when we allow that experience, the fullness of it, it also passes. And there's something quite miraculous about the fact that we have the experiences we have, just on a very fundamental level. Something quite miraculous about it. And rather than retreat from life, which is something that so many of us do out of protection or self-preservation, if we step into life, if we breathe it more deeply, if we engage more fully, there's so much more richness. I have, in the core connection work, what I see in so many people and what I've seen in myself also in life is that when there's a lot of pain, what happens is we numb ourselves. And in our numbing, ultimately that pain is perpetuated. That energy, the energy of that is just squashed. And it doesn't disappear. It just gets compressed for later impact. And sometimes the numbing, if it's temporary, can be a great survival tool. But if we want to move to thriving, we really do need to open ourselves up to the richness of the experience of life and to allow life itself to be its own reward. So that's it for this morning. I'm Mira Rubin. This is the Core Connection, and I go live. I go live here each weekday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern on the Enlightened World Network Facebook page and YouTube channel. And as always, it is a tremendous pleasure and privilege to be able to engage with you in these morning musings about being human. So until next time, so much love to you.